Have you ever ended the day feeling completely drained, even though nothing particularly stressful happened? No dramatic events, no emergencies, just regular life. And yet, somehow, your body feels heavy, your mind exhausted. You lie down, hoping for rest, but the rest doesn't truly come. There's a reason for this kind of fatigue, and it has nothing to do with your physical activity or how much sleep you got the night before. In fact, what drains you the most isn't what's happening around you, but what's happening within you. Specifically, it's a quiet, invisible mental habit that's been playing in the background for so long you may not even notice it. And yet, it consumes your energy more than anything else. This is the habit of inner tension, the subtle, continuous mental posture of trying to control, predict, resist, or prepare for life at all times. It's not loud, it doesn't panic. It's more like a silent grip in your system, a low-grade background hum that says, "Be ready, don't relax yet. Something might go wrong." And the longer it stays active, the more it steals from you, your peace, your focus, your vitality. Before we continue, I want to invite you to ground this moment with a conscious intention. In the comments, write the phrase, "I reclaim my peace." By writing it, you are not only anchoring your attention, you are gently signaling to your mind that it no longer needs to carry everything alone. And if this message resonates with you so far, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more insights rooted in mindfulness, clarity, and calm. Now, let's go deeper into this hidden energy drain. You see, inner tension is not always connected to something obvious like anxiety or fear. Sometimes it shows up in ways that feel like responsibility, like vigilance, like a voice in your mind that keeps scanning your surroundings, your schedule, your relationships, constantly checking if something needs to be managed or fixed. This voice often sounds like your own, but it carries a quality of strain. It never allows you to simply be where you are. From a biological perspective, this habit keeps your nervous system in a slightly activated state. Not full fight or flight, but not full rest either. You're always just slightly on guard, slightly alert. It's like driving with your foot half pressed on the brake pedal at all times. You may not notice the strain at first, but over hours, days, weeks, it starts to wear you down. This is why even a quiet day can leave you exhausted if your mind never allows you to soften into the moment. You're not tired from doing too much. You're tired from bracing too much, from holding your muscles tighter than needed, from keeping your mind rehearsing imaginary conversations, potential problems, or future tasks without pause. And here's the thing, this state becomes so familiar that it can feel like your default. You may start to think this is just what it means to be an adult, to be responsible. But being present and aware is not the same as being mentally clenched. One keeps you conscious, the other drains you slowly from the inside. To begin unwinding this pattern, you first need to recognize the signals. Notice how your body feels right now. Is your jaw slightly tense? Are your shoulders creeping upward? Is your stomach clenched? These are signs that your inner tension is not just mental, it's physiological. The body remembers every unresolved pressure, every moment you didn't feel safe to fully exhale. Now notice your thoughts. Are they in the future? Are they looping over something you haven't yet done or might need to do later? That too is inner tension, masked as planning or preparation. But real planning has an endpoint. It comes with a sense of clarity. Chronic planning just circles endlessly, keeping your system alert but never resolved. There's nothing wrong with having a thoughtful mind. The problem arises when thinking becomes compulsive, when the mind is afraid to stop, because it associates stillness with danger, vulnerability, or irresponsibility. This is not a flaw in you. This is a protective pattern your mind learned to help you cope. But protection and presence are not the same thing. What most people don't realize is that peace doesn't come from finally getting everything under control. That day never arrives. Peace comes from learning to interrupt the pattern of internal gripping and choosing to release it again and again in small, gentle ways. One of the simplest practices is to pause for just 10 seconds, multiple times throughout your day, and ask yourself, what am I holding that I don't need to hold right now? Maybe it's a worry, a task you can't solve in this moment, a story you're carrying about how things should be. In that small pause, just exhale. Imagine yourself setting it down, even briefly. You'll be surprised how powerful that pause becomes. You're not ignoring anything. You're simply creating space where your mind doesn't have to grip every moment like it's a crisis. You're telling your nervous system, we're safe enough to soften. This softness is not weakness. It's where clarity begins. Because in the absence of mental strain, you begin to hear yourself more clearly. Not the voice of pressure, but the voice of presence. Now that we've gently opened the doorway to awareness, let's walk further into the pattern that keeps us stuck in silent exhaustion. Inner tension is not a singular event, it's a cycle. And the more often you run it, the more automatic it becomes. Eventually, the body and mind begin to treat peace as unfamiliar and tension as home. You wake up, and without any conscious decision, you're already preparing for problems that haven't even happened. One of the more subtle ways this shows up is in how we approach daily life. Many people live in what could be called preparation mode. Even during rest, the mind rehearses what it might need to do later. Even during meals, the inner dialogue is calculating what's next. It's as if the moment itself is never quite enough. There must always be a readiness for the next thing. This is draining not because of the volume of thought, but because of its posture. It's always leaning forward, always anticipating. And there's a deeper cost to this. When your energy is constantly projected into the future, into planning, bracing, rehearsing, you disconnect from the source of renewal that only exists in the now. It's not poetic, it's neurological. Your parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest and recovery, can only fully engage when the present feels safe enough to receive your attention. If the present is never fully entered, the body never fully relaxes. You may have noticed this. Even when you take time off, go for a walk, or sit in silence, your energy doesn't instantly recover. That's because the mind hasn't truly landed yet. The background voice is still running, asking, what did I forget? What if something goes wrong while I pause? And so, your body might be still, but your mind is racing. And racing minds do not restore energy, they burn it. One of the most effective ways to begin shifting this habit is to reframe your relationship to stillness. Most of us were conditioned to associate stillness with laziness, lost time, or lack of productivity. But what if stillness is not a gap between important things, but the place where your energy gets rebuilt? What if the pause is the work? Monks and mindful traditions have long understood this. They don't pause because they've finished everything. They pause because they know that true wisdom and energy come from the pause. In Buddhist monasteries, the beginning of the day often starts not with action, but with stillness. This isn't because they're avoiding effort. It's because they understand that tension-driven effort leads to depletion. Presence-driven action leads to alignment. Let's consider the everyday ways inner tension disguises itself as necessity. The need to check your phone every few minutes, not because there's something urgent, but because the silence between updates feels uncomfortable. The habit of opening multiple tabs while working, not because you need them, but because staying singularly focused makes you feel behind. The quick mental scan you do of everything you should be doing while doing something else. Each of these moments is a form of energy leakage. It's not always about stopping them altogether, but seeing them clearly. Awareness breaks the trance. Once you notice the pattern, you can start asking a powerful question. Is this mental habit helping me, or just keeping me busy? That one question, repeated often, will slowly create space between you and the automatic tension you've carried. Here's something else we rarely consider. Inner tension is contagious. When you move through the world tightly wound, others around you feel it. Conversations become more reactive. Situations become more charged. Even when you don't speak it aloud, tension has a frequency, and others pick up on it. But so does calm. And when you begin practicing internal softness, the energy of your presence becomes something people trust, including yourself. This isn't about becoming some perfectly serene person. It's about reclaiming energy that's been spent on internal battles you didn't know you were fighting. And here's one of the most important realizations. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect to begin this. In fact, waiting for the outside world to calm down before you do is the biggest trap of all. What if you made calm your baseline, not your reward? What if you started treating peace not as the finish line, but as the foundation? Let me share a simple yet powerful practice that can help with this. Choose a doorway in your home, any doorway you walk through multiple times a day. Each time you pass through it, let it remind you to check in with yourself. Take a breath. Notice where you're holding. And even if just for 2 seconds, let something go. Maybe it's a thought. Maybe it's a grip in your shoulders. Maybe it's an emotion that doesn't need to be carried. That doorway becomes a gateway not just to another room, but to another way of being. Over time, these tiny resets build a new pattern. You begin to associate everyday movement with inner release. And that's when you'll notice something profound. Energy doesn't come from having less to do. It comes from doing things without inner resistance. Now let's explore how this habit of silent tension often grows stronger in specific environments, and how to gently disarm it even in the middle of daily responsibilities. We often believe that inner tension is born from chaos, deadlines, or external demands. But in truth, it can thrive just as much in quiet, calm environments if your mind never learns how to trust the moment. You may find yourself sitting in your own home with nothing urgent to do and still feel that quiet buzz of unease, that compulsion to fix, organize, check, or improve. This is a sign that the mental habit has taken root deeply. It doesn't need triggers anymore. It runs on habit alone. One of the strongest fuels for this pattern is the belief that something is always missing. It whispers, "You haven't done enough. There's something you forgot. You should be more productive." This inner voice doesn't scream. It suggests. It's subtle, familiar, reasonable. And that's what makes it so powerful. It keeps you in a low-level state of guilt and restlessness, without ever being intense enough to confront directly. This is why monks and wisdom teachers have emphasized contentment as a spiritual discipline, not because they reject growth or progress, but because they understand the mental trap of always reaching. When the mind is conditioned to always be on the way to something better, it never allows you to arrive. And arrival is where healing begins. You don't need a perfect life to be peaceful. You need a mind that knows how to land. Here's a simple shift you can practice. The next time you complete a task, no matter how small, pause for just a moment before moving to the next. Feel the space that opens. Notice the silence between acts. Let your breath be part of the transition. These small moments are where inner tension either tightens or releases. When you move quickly from one thing to another, you teach your nervous system that slowness is unsafe. But when you pause, even for a breath, you invite calm back in. Another environment where inner tension thrives is in relationships, not necessarily through conflict, but through over-attunement. That is, when your mind constantly tracks what others might be thinking, needing, or expecting from you. You anticipate disappointment. You scan for disapproval. You rehearse responses before anything has been said. This habit can drain your energy more than any conversation ever could. To break this loop, you must give yourself permission to be present without performance. You do not need to monitor every expression, adjust every word, or predict every outcome. You can simply be with another person without trying to manage their perception of you. This takes practice, but it's one of the most powerful ways to restore your energy, because pretending, even subtly, is exhausting. Now let's return to your inner world. There's a pattern that often runs in the background of high-functioning people, the habit of tying worth to effort. It sounds like this: if I'm not doing something useful, I'm wasting time. Or, if I'm not being productive, I'm falling behind. This creates a quiet war between rest and guilt. Even when you do take breaks, you don't feel restored because your mind is still arguing with your right to rest. You must understand, rest is not earned. It is not a prize at the end of exhaustion. It is the foundation from which clear action grows. Monks rest deeply, not because they've finished everything, but because they know that being still is an act of wisdom. It signals to the body, you are safe. And from that place of safety, the mind begins to settle. The nervous system unravels. Your deeper intelligence awakens. And now, I want you to reflect on this. What if the reason you're tired isn't because you're weak or broken, but because you've been fighting invisible battles inside your mind all day? Battles like trying to control what can't be controlled, replaying conversations you can't change, predicting outcomes you can't know, judging yourself for not being more, doing more, fixing more. These mental habits are not signs of failure. They are survival strategies. But they are outdated. They no longer protect you. They drain you. And the first step to freedom is noticing. Once you notice the habit, you create a gap. And in that gap, something new becomes possible. So here's a gentle invitation. The next time you feel tightness rising, pause. Don't push it away, don't try to fix it, just notice it, name it. Ah, this is tension. Then breathe. One slow breath, one kind thought, one reminder. I don't have to carry everything. These simple micro moments of awareness are the antidote to the constant hum of mental strain. And if you're wondering, does this really work? Will something this subtle actually restore my energy? Let me share this. It's not just about one breath. It's about taking hundreds of small moments across your day to realign with ease, to shift from contraction to openness, from proving to allowing, from forcing to flowing. At the core of constant mental strain is often one quiet belief. If I let go, something bad will happen. This belief rarely shows up in those exact words. It hides behind perfectionism, overthinking, people-pleasing, and hypervigilance. It convinces you that stillness is weakness and that relaxation is risky. And so even when everything around you is calm, the mind keeps scanning for problems, anticipating threats, preparing responses. It doesn't know how to rest because it doesn't believe it's safe to rest. This fear is ancient. It's rooted in childhood, in trauma, in culture, in conditioning. It may have once served a purpose, keeping you alert in environments that required vigilance. But if you're watching this now, chances are you're no longer in that environment. And yet your nervous system hasn't gotten the message. So it continues to operate from a place of survival instead of presence. This is why awareness is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Without it, your mind will run on scripts that no longer serve your life. The great unspoken truth is this: most people are exhausted, not from what they do, but from what they believe. Beliefs like, I'm only valuable when I'm needed, or, if I don't fix everything, I'll lose love. These mental habits create tension not just in the mind, but in the body, in the breath, in your relationships. And that tension, held for days, weeks, years, drains you in ways no physical effort ever could. So how do we begin to release it? Not by force, not by trying to stop thinking, but by creating safety within, by teaching the mind again and again that it can pause and nothing will fall apart. One of the most powerful ways to do this is to practice micro-trust. That means, in small, safe moments, you let go for just a breath. You relax your shoulders, you unclench your jaw, you soften your belly, you breathe slower than you usually allow, and then you notice nothing bad happened. That's the beginning of nervous system repair. Another powerful practice is this. When a worried thought arises, don't push it away or analyze it. Instead, greet it. Say quietly in your mind, "Thank you for trying to protect me." This disarms the pattern. It interrupts the urgency. It reminds the deeper parts of you that you're no longer in danger, that you can lead with presence, not fear. It's also essential to become aware of how tension disguises itself. It doesn't always look like anxiety. Sometimes it shows up as impatience, or irritation, or distraction, or even numbness. These are not flaws. They are signals. The body's way of saying, "There's too much pressure in here." And when you ignore those signals, they don't disappear. They build until they become burnout or illness or disconnection from the people you love. That's why this message isn't about mental tricks or productivity hacks. It's about remembering that you are a living being, not a machine. You're not here to be optimized into someone else's version of success. You're here to live. And living doesn't happen in the future. It doesn't happen at the end of the to-do list. It happens now, in your breath, in your body, in your choice to soften instead of strain. When Buddhist monks train in awareness, they don't do it to become more efficient. They do it to become free. Free from the prison of mental noise, free from the tyranny of should, free from the constant tightening of the heart that comes from never feeling good enough. Their stillness is not passive. It's a radical act of presence in a world that demands distraction. You can practice this too, not by moving to a monastery, but by creating moments of slowness in your day, by giving yourself permission to walk a little slower, to listen without preparing your reply, to sit in silence without reaching for a device. These are not empty moments. They are sacred ones. They are how your system recalibrates to a new rhythm, the rhythm of peace. And if you're thinking, "But my life is too chaotic for that," I want you to know this. Peace is not something you find once everything is perfect. It's something you practice while everything is still messy. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it yours. So let this be your reminder. You don't need to be more. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to earn rest or justify stillness or fix everything before you're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to be whole right now, even in the middle of healing, even in the midst of imperfection. And before we conclude this video, I want to repeat something simple yet deeply transformative. The tension in your mind is not you. It is a pattern, a habit, a leftover from the past. And just like any habit, it can be replaced. Not all at once, not overnight, but breath by breath, choice by choice, awareness by awareness. Take a moment right now to anchor this shift. Go to the comments and write the phrase, "I reclaim my peace." Say it with intention. Let it be a promise to yourself, a reminder to your nervous system, a gift to your future. And if this message has spoken to something real inside of you, I invite you to help it reach others. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone whose heart feels heavy, whose mind feels tired, whose spirit is ready to soften again. You are not alone in this. There are thousands, millions of people quietly walking the same path. Let's walk it together, gently, mindfully, with room for ease. And now, take one last deep breath. Feel the space you've made in your mind. Feel the stillness beneath the thoughts. That stillness is always there, waiting for you to return. Welcome home.